This single mistake can bankrupt a new business owner. Financially, it can set you back years, but worst, it can kill your dreams of ever owning a business again. So I'm going to review the big mistake. We're talking about why so many people make it and provide you a solution that you can copy and paste. If you're new here, my name is Brian Beers. My company starts, operates, and scales franchises, and I started this channel to help ordinary people build extraordinary businesses that provide freedom and cash flow without having to reinvent the wheel. So subscribe to learn more as I drop new videos every week. And so I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. And some of them start from zero and build a business that makes $20,000 a month in cash flow within a year, while others who started the business at the same time are struggling and they want to shut it down, they want to sell, they want to get out. And there's a lot of factors to consider here, but I've found that there's one common trait. There's one big mistake that new entrepreneurs make. The mistake is they get into a complicated business. And it's not intentional, right? As a new business owner, you just have this huge blind spot. You don't see what makes it complicated. Well, the guys who are printing money are usually running a simple business. So to start, let's review a framework that you can use to analyze a simple versus a complex business. And we're going to have 5 traits to compare. Each one of these traits for a business will fall within a range from something that is very simple on the left to something that is very complicated on the right. The first thing that we're going to look at is the startup costs. A simple business will have low startup costs that you can, pay in cash, or if you want to get funding, it's really easy to get funding and it's low risk, right? A complicated business will have high startup costs. It will be harder to get funding, and generally it's going to be a higher risk business. The second trait we look at is standardization. A simple business will have limited variations in the products and services that they offer, right? There might be little to no inventory management. It's really simple, it's tight, and it's easy to execute. A complicated business is gonna have a high degree of customization. You're gonna have complex inventory management, reordering, spoilage, lots of things could go wrong in a complex business in this category. The third thing we look at is the industry. A simple business will have a large market where people are spending money on this product or service every day. Ice cream, house cleaning, painting, power washing, senior care, hair salons, spas, right? People are spending this money every single day, and it's really easy to market because we can get to them through digital media, through referrals, through grassroots, there's lots of different ways. You also see lots of competitors. There's a highly fragmented nature, which makes it easy to compete, right? Because there isn't some big 800-pound gorilla you have to compete against. It's a bunch of small ones. And franchisors really like to compete in this space because they can gain market share through digital marketing, through national relationships, all these things that they can control kind of at the corporate level. Now, a complicated model is going to have a much smaller market where people must be educated on the product or the service that you offer. Bringing bubble tea or IV drip therapy or cold plunges or some specialized spa, whatever the latest trend is, right? And it requires you to educate your customers. It requires specialized training and maybe some more complex strategies from a marketing standpoint to get in front of them. And there could be concentration among a few dominant competitors in this space. So this is where you may see an 800-pound gorilla just because it's a smaller niche, one big company, 2 big companies really control it, and it's gonna be harder for you to gain traction. The next thing we look at is the operations. A simple business will have few moving parts, which makes it easy to control the quality, while a complicated business will have lots of moving parts, right? And there could be a higher risk for injury or things just to go wrong and break. Next, we look at employees. A simple business it will be easy to hire and train non-skilled employees who can learn the process quickly, while a complicated business requires you to hire more skilled employees who have experience, who have a certain amount of education. And all these factors just make it harder to find and maybe retain those employees. All right, so now let's get into a few real life examples so you can see how I would apply this framework in real life. And so we're gonna look in the auto repair business. We're gonna look at Midas, which I own 30 plus locations, and we're gonna compare that to a Jiffy Lube, which is a quick oil change. So I've got 2 different colors here. So Midas, we're gonna compare with a red, and we're gonna do Jiffy Lube here with a blue. To start, let's look at the startup costs. So both of them are going to be kind of on the upper scale of kind of the investment range, right? Because they both will require real estate, We both need specialized equipment. Midas is going to be a little bit higher due to the needs for larger real estate and more equipment, but they're both on the upper scale. So we're going to put Midas up here, probably somewhere in here, and we're going to put Jiffy Lube right behind us there. Next, we're going to look at standardization, right? So Jiffy Lube offers a very tight scope of services. They focus really just on oil changes and maintenance items such as filters and belts and fluids and lights and easy repairs. And at Midas, we do oil changes, but we also do brakes and tires and exhaust and air conditioning. At Midas, we have a very wide range of services, which means things can go wrong and creating a more complicated model. So in this case, Midas is going to be way over here in the amount of things that we do in a business, while Jiffy Lube is probably going to be somewhere over here in the complexity and the standardization scale. Next, we're going to get into industry. Now, both Midas and Jiffy Lube serve a massive industry, right? The auto repair is worth billions of dollars, and there are lots and lots of small competitors. I bet you can name a few right off your head, which makes it a simpler business. It's very easy for us to get customers. Both of us kind of live in this scale over here. Now, operations, right? So we're both in the car business, which means a lot of stuff can go wrong, right? Oil can be left out of cars, tires can be left loose, people can get hurt, right? Cars can get damaged. So neither of these is a simple business when it comes to something like serving ice cream. When we think about this from a scale standpoint, the simplest business operationally is, we have pre-packaged ice cream that we serve out of a truck. It's a very simple operational business. Right? We have a retail store that we scoop our own ice cream, right? A little bit more complicated, but not that much more. And then all the way over here, we have our business where there's lots and lots of stuff going on. In a lot of ways, both of our business have more complicated basis from an operation when compared to the other options out there. So now we get into employees. So, Jiffy Lube can hire almost anyone to train them how to change oil, and they also have multiple roles. So this forms a training path. So someone could start and know nothing, and then they can learn and they can progress. And, they start them in a low risk position and then move them to some higher risk position as they gain experience. So in a lot of ways, Jiffy Lube it's easier for them to kind of hire people and get them on board and get them trained before they move them up. Now, Midas, we have much smaller teams and primarily hire experienced technicians who can perform a wide range of services, which means it's harder for us to find employees because we don't really have that training path in the same way they do. We are going to get a more complicated score here. When you kind of compare the two, right, in a lot of cases, Midas is a more kind of complex business than Jiffy Lube, which is very similar, but it's slightly easier in a number of the ways. The biggest one, it's standardization and employees in this case. Because there's less products, there's less service, it's a smaller scope of work, it's easier to get employees hired and trained. And, we all have turnover, but it's probably a little bit easier for them to work through it than it is for us. This is how I, take these traits, take these things, and then apply them to real life. And so you can work this through any business that you're looking at, whether it's cleaning, whether it's painting, whether it's power washing, whether it's roofing, whether it's some sort of remodeling business, right? I talked to a guy the other day who is in a custom glass business, right? So the business model is, it's digital marketing. You go to somebody's house, the wife shows you a Pinterest board on the phone, and it's your job to take that idea, go find manufacturers and products to be able to recreate what the vision she has in her head and cut everything to a 16th of an inch and get it installed and make it perfect. You can make a lot of money in that business. And for some people, they love it. But for a lot of people, including my friend, it was not what he expected, right? And it ends up being he hates the business because it's very complicated. It's very expensive to get started. It has very little standardization. It's a highly customized, every single person is different model. The industry is pretty small, right? The number of people that want high-end custom glass in their home or business, right? That's an industry that is very small and niche compared to auto repair, which is massive, right? Operationally, very complicated business, right? Lots of moving parts and contractors and technical things have to get done. And from an employee, you've got to find people who can understand, who have the vision, who can work with people, and ultimately find good installers as well. So you get a business like that business is way more complicated than Midas, what we do, and we have a decently complicated business. Compare that to The painting business, that one painter that we own 13 territories in, startup costs are pretty low. We're like 120,000 like per territory. Standardization, we offer a pretty narrow scope of products and services. Like it's mainly painting, light drywall repair, right? We can do some handyman stuff, but like very low operationally compared to what's possible. We're in a massive industry, paint, right? Everybody knows paint. Everybody needs to get stuff painted over time. Operationally, it's a pretty simple business. Like we go to a house, we sell a job, we get a painter on it. We have to make sure they got the right scope of work, that they do a good job. But we follow up, we make touch-ups, we get paid, we're on to the next one. Like there aren't as many things that can go wrong in a painting business compared to an auto repair business. And for the employee side, we find great contractors and we find sales guys and girls who can sell. And it's actually not very hard at all because we have really good training process as part of the franchise that can get somebody who's new up to speed. Those are a couple examples of how you can apply this framework to these different businesses that you look at. And the second biggest mistake that new owners make is thinking that business is going to be easy. As they say, the grass is always greener on the side that's fertilized with bullshit. Owning a business is hard, and nobody becomes an entrepreneur because it's easy. You do it because the rewards of unlimited cash flow and freedom and creating the life of your dreams is worth the pain and suffering that you endure. As a first-time business owner, it's important that you understand a few things. Number one is you need to learn how to walk before you run. Number two is that your first business will probably not be your last business. And in order to build an 8-figure business, so $10 million or more in revenue, there are 3 levels to the game that you must master. So first, walk before you run. I talk to people who have never owned a business before, and they come out swinging for the fences, right? And you learn very quickly that there is a big difference between book knowledge and learned knowledge, right? Book knowledge is everything that you read in books and online and you hear from your friends, and like this is all you've got as a first-time business owner. And so it's a starting point and it's something you can build from, but it's not the same as learned knowledge, right? You gain knowledge, learn knowledge from actually doing the thing, right? Pitching the sale, overcoming the objections, hiring people, firing people, dealing with the issues, like whatever it is. As Mike Tyson says, like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And the greatest thing about the game of business is there are universal rules, and that these rules apply whether you run a small business or a multi-million-dollar one. One of the rules is that you must learn how to build and lead a great team. You have to learn how to drive sales, how to do marketing, manage your cash flow, accounting, deal with insurance, payroll, leases, and a lot more. And it's a much safer bet to learn these businesses in one of those simple, low-risk ones before you put it all on the line with a very complicated, very expensive business. So start small, start simple, get the reps in, and then you can up to the next level. And that leads me to the second point, which is for many people, their first business is not their last business, and that you can treat it as a stepping stone, right? It's one that's easy to operate, low risk, can replace your current income in your W-2. Maybe it won't scale to millions of dollars in profit, but that's not necessarily the goal. Your goal could be to escape the rat race, create freedom in your life, have more flexibility in your life, and then within a year or two of getting into this stepping stone business, you now have it stabilized, you've started to build a team, like things are running smoothly, and it gives you time to decide what's next. Like you may decide to keep expanding and growing the current business, or you may start to see other bigger opportunities out there. So maybe you can stack on another business, maybe you can cross-sell to other customers, maybe you buy up more territory, right? So for example, let's just say you got into house cleaning business, right? As your stepping stone. It's a huge industry, it has stable demand, there's recurring revenue, right? It's relatively low cost to start, and you get good at like hiring and retaining employees. You build a solid customer base that are like upper to middle income people. And from there, you decide, what do you do to grow this business, right? Do you grow by continuing to expand into new territories? Do you expand by rolling up smaller competitors, right, in your market? Do you purely focus on marketing to grow your sales organically? Or you could add another franchise business to serve these same customers in a different capacity. Maybe you start a handyman franchise, like your cleaners can notice small issues around the house to help lead gen into the handyman business. Now, it's much easier to take one business, like a cleaning business, and make it giant, as opposed to, hey, I'm gonna have a bunch of small businesses that like kind of coexist. But there's lots of different ways you can grow. A lot of it comes down to you and your preference and like, what do you get enjoyment out of versus me could be different. Finally, I want to talk about that there's 3 levels to the game to master in order to make money. So money gives you the ability to build a team, which gives you more freedom and flexibility. And ultimately, there are 3 levels to the game that you must master. The first level of the game is I do it, right? This is a solo entrepreneur. This is not scalable. This is like you trading your time for money and you do everything yourself because it's the only way you know how and it's the cheapest and the easiest way to start. But then you move to we do it. And we do it is like I show you how to do it and then we do it together. You are learning from me. I'm letting you get reps in. I'm letting you make mistakes. You're learning, we're growing. All is good. And then the final level to the game is they do it, which means my team does it without me. This is how I grew my business, which was I did everything in the beginning, kind of running the stores. I hired people and trained them how to do it. And we did it together. And then those people eventually could do it on their own, which then freed my time up and they did all the work again. And then this duplicates on every level. So your number 2 guy that you took him from we do it to they do it, he now has the same loop. He now is I do it, and then he finds an assistant or somebody he can train, which is now they do it. And then eventually he's able to get out of the loop and they do it without him. At every level of the game, this is how you scale the business. This is how you build a big company. And the simpler the business is, the easier it is to find people, to train people, to hold them accountable. So don't make these mistakes. Start with a simple business, put the work in to get through the toughest part. And then after that, you have unlimited earnings potential as you build your team to scale the business. And so I'll see you on the next video. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them below. Cheers.